It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Swings it out to Sadiq Bey. Defending in the corner!
To Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win! The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Here's the give. Walker! Jalen Walker! Touchdown! Smarty!
Goff's got it. Back. Looks. Throws. Ends up.
Yes!
Caught! Touchdown Detroit Lions! They did it! Amon-Ra St. Brown in the receiving end!
Sends one to deep left center field. Back it goes, and that ball's out of here! A grand slam from Miguel Cabrera. He's got 2 goals. Larkin in on goal. Scores! His first career hat trick in his 7th season for Dylan Larkin.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Good Tuesday morning to you. It is the 19th day of September, 2023. We welcome you here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Ben Glaze, Ryan Elke, Anthony Bellino, all joining you. Thank you for joining us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening, all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio and worldwide on the iHeartRadio app. We say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And, of course, we encourage you. Join the program at any time. You can text the keyword sports radio and send that to 21,000. Sports radio to 21000. Our Myers Supercenter guest line, 866-838-4843. That's 866-838-4843. We're on Twitter at XP Mornings, Facebook, X's and Bros. And, of course, good morning to our television audience as well on BCSN and streaming live on our YouTube page at Michigan Sports Network. Added.com to that to find our website. xpmornings@gmail.com is our fan feedback email inbox, and you can find us all individually on Twitter. Ben Glaze is at the Ben Glaze. Ryan Elke is at RyanL_Key, and I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. How are we on this Tuesday after a Monday night doubleheader last night?
Yeah, good morning. Wishing I had Steelers defense on my fantasy team last night.
Yeah, that would have been good, especially with the TJ Watt scoop and score. And obviously, we'll get to both of those games. The devastation for Nick Chubb, just terrible.
Yeah,
just absolutely terrible for that to happen to that young man. And they're labeling that as a significant knee injury. The hit last night is one of the more graphic knee injuries. I mean, the first thing I thought when I saw the one angle of it was like, this is like Willis McGahee almost.
Okay. Yeah.
It's significant knee injury. It doesn't
even cover how bad it is.
No, I mean, it and the one look is so graphic that Joe Buck was like, yeah, we have another angle. We're not going to show it.
Yeah, I was watching that, and the whole crowd gasped when they saw it.
Yeah, that was rough. So very, 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 very difficult for Nick Chubb, and his season is done. He's had an ACL injury before. But that was the kind of injury that it looks like your entire leg is broke. It just so happened that the impact was at the knee, so it's maybe a little different. But it was terrible. We have a lot of stuff going on in today's program. We'll get to the Tigers game last night. MSU sent out a letter. I kind of feel like it's Blue's Clues now. Every time Michigan State, there's news surrounding it. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from. It's from the AD, and they are intending to fire Mel Tucker. That's what it is. So we'll get into what's going on there. In East Lansing, Kyle Barlow will join us. John Maakaron will join us on the Detroit Lions. I put out a poll last night just because I was bored. Getting ready for Monday Night Football or whatever, and it was about the injuries and which injury is most concerning to you. And little did we know that C.J. Gardner-Johnson we'd have some very scary news regarding his injury as well. So we got a lot to get to there. Right now, 51% of the voters say that David Montgomery is the biggest injury, followed up by Taylor Decker. Big V, Halapulavati Vaitai, is in last place in this poll. James Houston is in third place. But a lot of people a lot of folks right now are saying David Montgomery. That much is for certain. So it's a lot to get to on today's program. But first, let's get you all caught up with all the happenings across the world of sports. We'll do so right now in the headlines.
Big news.
I have a little news flash.
Let's check the headlines.
No, it's real news for once.
The biggest stories of the local, regional, and national news.
This is huge news.
Huge news. And we're going to start there with Nick Chubb. Not expected to return this year. That was a graphic scene last night, getting carted off the field. And, everybody, even Mike Tomlin during his press conference talking about, wishing him the best, because that's, was it a cheap shot by Minkah Fitzpatrick? Debatable. Minkah went diving in low, and, he laid down there injured as well. So the injured left knee is the same one that Chubb had a restructure after tearing his MCL, PCL, and LCL while at Georgia in 2015. Not a good situation at all. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes gets a historic payday with his restructuring of his contract. So they restructured his agreement, giving him $210.6 million between 2023 and 2026, the most money in NFL history. Over a 4-year span, his compensation for those years is now guaranteed. The Chiefs and Mahomes plan to revisit the agreement again in 2026, according to his agent. Now, if you remember back to 2020, he signed the 10-year extension worth $450 million. No player has since topped that contract in terms of total value, but several quarterbacks have passed Mahomes in average annual value, including 4 this year: Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow. Burrow was the latest. It was a 5-year, $275 million extension. Flurry of new contracts made him the 8th highest paid at his position. He will average about $52.5 million over the next 4 seasons with the restructuring, putting him more in line with the recent quarterback deals. I don't understand how that was so important. Like, dude, how much do you need? How much does that count against the cap? Like, whoa. Do you not see, like, kind of what's going on your own team? Especially with the Chris Jones stuff, and I don't know. You're going to need some money to pay some other people, or you're going to be very lonely there in your late years. The NFL has filed a grievance claiming that the Players Association advised running backs to exaggerate injuries. I don't even think this is necessary at this point. I think that last night, as heartless as this is going to sound, last night was another clear-cut example. Running backs have been dropping like flies this year, and it's part of the game. It's part of the game. They're never going to get paid what left tackles get paid. They're never going to get paid what premier wide receivers get paid. It's just the cost of doing business. I hate to be that way. It sounds very heartless and very cold, but that is the reality of the situation. The Bengals say it's hard to say if Joe Burrow with his calf injury can play in week number 3. So, I mean, look, they adjust your fantasy rosters accordingly. Cincinnati will take on the L.A. Rams for Monday Night Football. Remember, they lost last week 27-24 to the Ravens. Speaking of injuries, Saquon Barkley's ordinary sprain is going to keep him on the sidelines now for 3 weeks. So, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, back-to-back games. Sean McVay said the Rams are headed towards trading running back Cam Akers. How about this? This is kind of bold. Akers was a healthy scratch on Sunday against the 49ers. McVay said it's a coach's decision and in the best interest of the team. And the Lions, according to sources, their safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson is feared to have a torn pectoral muscle that would leave him out for the remainder of the season. He suffered that during the Seahawks game and played 70 defensive snaps against Seattle, finished with 8 tackles and 2 stuffs, if that is a stat that you're interested in. Not good at all. Day 2 of training camp, remember, he was carted off the field with a right leg injury. He came back. That was good. He's an unrestricted free agent on a 1-year deal. one of the biggest offseason additions to the secondary, and now we're here. We'll step aside, back with more X's and Bros after this here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Hey, sports fans, here's a hanging curveball that you can knock out of the ballpark. This is Matt Shepard, the voice of Detroit baseball, inviting you to step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sports book where you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today. Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
He hasn't made a putt all day, but if he makes this one, we're all cracking a Labatt.
Hold it. Did you say if your buddy makes this putt, we're all cracking a Labatt? How about a Labatt Blue Light?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, you can do it!
It's a left-to-right break, just outside the cup, a touchdown hill.
Appreciate the support. You guys mind if I putt now?
Oh, yeah, sure. Best putt ever.
Because making the big shot is better with a big crowd. Labatt takes everything to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer 2023. Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. All rights reserved. Labatt Regulations, U.S. trademark of Labatt Brewing Company, Limited. Hey, buddy, where's my Labatt Blue Light? He made the putt, for crying out loud. I want my Labatt Blue Light.
Fuel up for less with M-Perks. Earn points on your purchases when you shop at Meijer in-store and online. Then use your points to claim a fuel reward and save at the pump. Your dollar goes further at the pump with M-Perks. Plus, earn points for all qualifying purchases in the Meijer Express station. And keep a lookout for exclusive Meijer Express offers. Enter your M-Perks ID at checkout to earn. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Wisconsin. Max 30 gallons. Download the Meijer app to sign up or see Meijer.com to learn more.
From Traverse City to the Glass City, GR to the Motor City, you're listening to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Golf season is coming to a close, folks, but there's still time to book your stay and play at the beautiful Tullymore Golf Resort in Canadian Lakes, Michigan. Matt Golden and his team ready to welcome you with open arms while the season still stands. And you can do so by visiting TullymoreGolf.com. That's TullymoreGolf.com. Take a look at the landscape and the pictures. You're going to love it. GB Ritz finally made his way over there, informed us yesterday of that decision, and he loved it. Tullymore and St. Ives courses are 7 minutes from each other. Get a free shuttle bus take you from point A to point B. It's located in Canadian Lakes, which is an hour north of Grand Rapids, about 30 minutes west of Mount Pleasant. It's got everything you need right there in the grounds, too. Top of the line in golf, top of the line accommodations, the perfect space for your wedding event, reception, or group outing. You don't have to leave the grounds if you don't want to. TullymoreGolf.com, 1-800-972-4837, 1-800-972-4837. Book your stay and play at Tullymore today. By the way, I got something cooking and in the works, and I have to go to Comerica Park today, of all places, this afternoon. So if I get some good news, I'll be sure to share it with you. But yeah, we're gonna do some things later on this afternoon, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Feel good about it, but you never know. I do feel relatively comfortable about what kind of shenanigans I'll be up to. The Tigers played the Dodgers last night as they continue their West Coast road swing. Remember, it's Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in the greater Southern California region, and then it was L.A. Dodgers right now, and then it's northbound for Oakland in the California swing, which really bodes well for the traffic pattern on Sunday. That's really what we're concerned about. Anytime that there's overlap between the Tigers and the Lions, traffic, people, those are things that I'm concerned about. The Dodgers beat the Tigers last night, 8-3. No, I mean, the Dodgers are 92-57 this year. They're 49-26 at home. Did not expect them to lose this game at all. What's really fun about this game is that J.D. Martinez went absolutely crazy. He hit 2 bombs in the game. Remember him? He was good. 3 for 4 on the night. 2 runs scored, 5 RBI, only struck out once. Good at baseball. Very good at baseball. The Tigers, by the way, led by Miguel Cabrera and Jake Rogers, had 13 strikeouts. Those 2 guys each had 3 apiece. Parker Meadows was 1 for 4. Nevin was 1 for 4. Baez was 0 for 3. Lipschitz was 0 for 4. Badu was 0 for 3. Vierling was 0 for 1. McKinstry threw up a donut on the board. He was 0 for 2. Andy Ibanez was 0 for 1. Miggy was 1 for 4 with those 3 Ks. Kerry Carpenter was 2 for 3 with a walk drawn and a run scored. And Jake Rogers 1 for 4, 3 RBI. He had a home run, his 20th of the year in the 5th inning with 2 on and 2 out. Outside of that, Eduardo did not want to go to L.A. and play. He lasted just 3 innings, giving up 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, 2 home runs through 70 pitches. 70 pitches over 3 innings. And that was that's the story of the day, if you will. He falls to 11-9 on the season, and the Tigers lose game 1, which, come on. This is the NL West champion here. The Dodgers steamrolling the Detroit Tigers. By the way, the Dodgers with the blue base jersey, the white script in the red numbers, horrific jersey. Now, look. The Browns last night, the Browns alternate, this all-white look, I thought that was clean. I like that a lot. I know Freddie gave me a big thumbs down on that jersey combo from last night, but this L.A. Dodgers thing, ugh, get rid of that red jersey. What's the matter with you? You don't need red on your jersey. Looks awful. And that's really it. Tigers will go back again tonight. It'll be a 10-10 first pitch, and they're probably going to lose. And that's what we have for you. That's it. Doubleheader of Monday Night Football. What do you want to do? But I should at least do this for you. The Baltimore Orioles and Tampa Bay Rays have both made the playoffs. They've both clinched their playoff berth in the AL East. The Blue Jays are hanging around, trying to fight it out. The Minnesota Twins still technically have not claimed theirs. They have a 7-game lead over the Gardos and an 8.5-game lead over the Tigers. The Houston Astros haven't claimed theirs because they have a 1.5-game lead over both Seattle and Texas. Now, the Oakland A's, LA Angels, Kansas City Royals, and Chicago White Sox have all been eliminated from contention on the AL side of things. In the NL, the Atlanta Braves have taken the NL East again for the 6th consecutive year, and about the, I don't even know what the total number is of Braves divisional championships since 1990, but that's got to be a pretty disgusting number. They're 96-54, 14-game lead over the Phillies. They've been boat racing everybody anyways. The Milwaukee Brewers, the NL Central, much like the AL Central, still not anywhere close to yet being decided, but the Milwaukee Brewers do have a 6-game lead on the Cubs and the Reds, who are still out there fighting it out. And in the West, the LA Dodgers with a 14-game lead over the Arizona Diamondbacks and a 16.5-game lead over the San Francisco Giants and a 20-game lead over the Padres. Only the Washington Nationals and Colorado Rockies have been eliminated from contention over on the NL side of things. In the AL wildcard, it is Tampa Bay, Toronto, and then Texas and Seattle that are tied with the Yankees 6 games back. So Tampa Bay has a 9.5-game lead. That's why they've already clinched. The Blue Jays have a 1-game lead over Texas and Seattle. The Yankees 6 games back of those guys. And then in the NL side of things, you have the Phillies. They have a 4-game lead in the National League wildcard race, followed up by the Diamondbacks, who trail the Phillies by 3.5, but still have a half-game edge over the Cubs and the Reds. Cubs and the Reds have a half-game lead on the Miami Marlins, a 2-game lead on the Giants, and a 5.5-game lead on the Padres. So when you think about what used to be the former wild card and then to the expanded wild card, this right here, in a nutshell, this is why they did it. Right here. It's kind of perfect. It's kind of perfect the way that they have this thing figured out right now. Because you have a lot of teams jockeying not only for position, but a lot of teams that are still on the outside but close enough within striking distance to keep their fan bases. Because if you really think about it, in the AL, I would say Cleveland, Detroit, neither one of them has a chance. Cleveland's 10.5 games back. Detroit's 12. It's probably not going to happen. I think that's pretty safe. You're just about out of time. You're not mathematically eliminated, but the probability is very, very low. And then you have Angels, White Sox, Royals, and Athletics. So 6 teams in the AL that I think you can write off completely. In the NL, you have the Rockies, Nationals, Cardinals, Pirates, and Mets that you can completely say these teams are done. Don't worry about it. So that's actually, you have 2/3 of the league that is still very much engaged, involved, in competing. I think that's a win for Major League Baseball. By the way, as a league, Major League Baseball has made a lot of really good decisions that there was maybe some immediate pushback to begin with. But now that we've seen the pitch clock in all of its glory, now that we've seen the runner on second to begin extras throughout the regular season, now that we've seen a lot of these things and how it's going to work, it's been great. If college football could maybe take a cue from the NFL, even though the NFL has restructured their timeouts, I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. But things are a little bit different. Pace of play still moves right along. College football can look at Major League Baseball and say, hey, all right, here we have something that is, this might be a clear-cut example of a league that had to do something drastic. They got pushed back and hated immediately, but it actually worked for them, and that is bringing the game time down. So you want to speed up the game, you can do so with the clock the way that they have structured it. That's fine, but we also need to be aware and have legitimate structured timeouts for all networks across the sport. There's my 10 cents. Disappointing game for sure, but it's only one game. I don't know what where that is, that if that's for the Tigers or if that's for the Lions. I'm not real sure. We'll step aside. We'll be back with more X's and Bros after this here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
I'm Matt Shepard, the voice of Detroit baseball.
I'm Herman Moore, and football is my game.
So we know a few things about sports.
And the passion of Detroit fans.
That's why we're big fans of Eagle Casino and Sports.
It's the mobile sports book that lets you bet on action all year long.
Right from your mobile device. Eagle Casino and Sports.
Made in Michigan. Made for Michigan.
Download the app and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Fuel up for less with M-Perks. Earn points on your purchases when you shop at Meijer in-store and online. Then use your points to claim a fuel reward and save at the pump. Your dollar goes further at the pump with M-Perks. Plus, earn points for all qualifying purchases in the Meijer Express station. And keep a lookout for exclusive Meijer Express offers. Enter your M-Perks ID at checkout to earn. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Wisconsin. Max 30 gallons. Download the Meijer app to sign up or see Meijer.com to learn more.
This is X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you riding along with us. Hey, remember our friends at DraftKings, get you all geared up and ready to go for Week 3 of NFL action. And DraftKings has you covered for each and every single game. DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL, is offering new customers $5 to place a wager on football. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Nobody's missing out on the action all season long. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of not one but two new offers every game day in September. Get in on the NFL action with the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app right now. Use the promo code HUGE to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Now, if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline, 800-270-7117. 21 plus, Michigan only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions may apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. We welcome you back here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you with us. No matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening. Yesterday, it was released and announced that Michigan State Athletics, in a written notice that was released to the public, Dear Mr. Tucker, that's Mel Tucker, I want to provide you with a written notice of the university's intent to terminate the amended employment agreement dated November 24th of 2021. More specifically, I want to provide written notice of its intent to terminate the agreement for cause pursuant to Section 3, Article B1 of the agreement, the early termination provision. Pursuant to the early termination provision of the agreement, the university may terminate for cause the agreement with you, the coach, without liability to the coach or other penalty when cause exists for such early termination. Under the early termination provisions in Section 3, Article B1 of the agreement, clause for termination includes, in relevant part, the following. A coach materially breaches this agreement, the coach engages in any conduct which constitutes moral turpitude or which the university's reasonable judgment would tend to bring public disrespect, contempt, or ridicule upon the university. Material insubordination or impropriety, involving a student. I just got to bypass it. I'm not going to get that word right at 6:37. You can come after me all you want. The university has become aware of various facts that have led to the unfortunate decision to terminate your employment for cause. At this point, the university has amassed a body of undisputed evidence of misconduct that warrants termination for cause. Notably, the following facts are undisputed and justify termination for cause. In July of 2021, the university contracted with an outside vendor, for the sole purpose of providing a sexual misconduct prevention education program to the university football team in order to prevent and reduce instances of sexual misconduct. The university supported the vendor's message. That's page number 1. Getting into page number 2 here. And her foundation set the expectation. It's the foundation name. And the university football team signed the STE pledge in April of 22. The university's athletic department brought the vendor to a football game at the university where she made an honorary captain of the university football team promoted to the university's relationship to STE. In late November of 2022, the vendor alleged that you violated the university's relationship violence and sexual misconduct and Title IX policy. The vendor, an activist against sexual violence and gang rape survivor, specifically alleged that you made unwelcome sexual advances towards her and played with yourself on the phone call without her consent. I just went that direction instead of saying the other word. It's too early for that. In light of the vendor's complaints, the university is conducting a thorough investigation into her allegation under the formal grievance process for prohibited conduct pursuant to the university's relationship violence and sexual misconduct and Title IX policy. You have made public comments on the formal grievance process and the university's policy. During the course of the investigation, you admitted to having ongoing discussions with the vendor about the vendor providing further sexual misconduct prevention training at the university football team during the period where both of you discussed further STE presentations. And while married, you admitted to the following behaviors: commenting on her looks, body parts, and specifically her arse. Once again, too early to say the real word at 6:40 in the morning. Making flirtatious comments to the vendor in conversation that you state, quote, happened often. and playing around with yourself and making sexually explicit comments about yourself and the vendor while on the phone with the vendor, which you describe as phone sex and late-night intimate conversation. It goes on. Grounds for termination, your admitted actions materially breach the agreement. So Michigan State releasing their clause. And look, if poor Ryan without a mic, if he wants to hop in, there's a couple more pages. Nicole Auerbach is the tweet that I retweeted. I think Chris Solari had it as well in a couple pages. Very, that was the release that went out to the media. You can read it in its entirety if you would like to. Based on that last portion there, especially the one like, oh, the stuff you admitted to breaches the contract. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. I still have my own questions about what's going on here. I think that there's always three sides to every story, like three sides to every coin. Heads, tails, and the side. But, for me, he just has to be, there's no excuse for what he's doing. Will not make an excuse for what he did, but I would like to know what led the conversation to that direction. I think that would paint a better picture of what's going on, because anytime that there is an allegation, should be taken seriously, but it should also be noted that, you have to be able to hear the other person's side of the story. Maybe this will come out later on. It doesn't matter, because that the contract is the contract. And, bringing shame, embarrassment, disrespect to the university, that's all part of it. And he admitted to some of the actions. That's embarrassing enough. There you go. That's what I don't understand. I don't see how Mel Tucker can try to go down swinging at this point. I thought maybe he would. It sounded like in his first statement that he was going to fight this tooth and nail to the bloody end. I don't know if that's in his best interest. Trying to recoup money is one thing. Trying to save yourself and your career is another. This one, you might just have to moonwalk off the stage and bow out gracefully and say, you know what? I'm not going to talk about this. Go in hiding for a while. And then, come back a changed man. You can preach to us how you went to some class or something. It's what everybody does. Go to some class, get rehab, go get help. Or we could just all be adults and be like, yeah, you screwed up. Try to be better next time if there is a next time. And go from there. But the best news for Michigan State is that they're able to get out of that god-awful contract. Because I stand by what I said, stand by what I thought when it happened. Like, was I overly concerned that, COVID year, okay, and Kenneth Walker, okay. You beat Michigan twice. That's, paramount and priority number one. He was able to do it. That seems to be the biggest goal, right, is to, beat your rival. And if you find somebody that can do it, I said last night on the phone, oh, man, why can't I remember his name again? I did this twice. I did it once on the phone last night. And here I am doing it. But I had said that Ryan Day is my favorite Ohio State coach right now, to date. Gary Moeller. Gary Moeller is up there, too. I was like, yeah, Ryan, I like Ryan Day a lot. They're like, really? I was like, yeah, he's one of my favorite coaches you guys have had. Like, wow. How come? I was like, because we can beat him. Luke Fickell was up there, too. I love Luke Fickell at Ohio State. Wish he would have stayed. But for Michigan State, they have proved that they are willing to spend at the head coaching position. So you don't have to really necessarily worry about that. They've gotten some updates with the Tom Izzo facility to facilities in general to be able to compete nationally in that arms race. It is very difficult for the kids that signed up to play this year. And as I have mentioned, the fans, they got to bite the bullet on this one. But it does feel like that piece of paperwork right there, at least from my perspective on the outside, makes everything better. Like, okay, finally, like, good. There's no way we should be fine. Don't worry about it. Like, we'll move on. I don't know how you're going to try to refute that contract. Good luck if you want to fight it. I think that only brings your name back into the public discourse and probably harms the future opportunities that you may have, if any, in coaching college football. And good luck. Godspeed. You're going to need it. And that's where I kind of stand on it. And if you're Michigan State, as I mentioned, you've proved that you can rally the funds necessary to make a top-level hire and pay with some of the top universities in the country. So that, from a competitive standpoint, is good. Now, I don't think that you go out there and flash that $10 million like, hey, come take a look at this. Like, no. It's like buying a house, right? Let's start low. Well, the old process of buying a house. Now, if you don't offer 10% more of the asking price, you're probably not going to get it, and somebody's going to come in with a cash offer, and you're going to look at yourself going, what have I done with my life? I wouldn't go out there and flex that you have $10 million to spend on a coach. I'd maybe start that off with, a couple million for the first few years, and you've seen that we have the ability to pay. Doesn't mean that we're going to, but we do have some ability to pay here. And that's the route that I would take if I was Michigan State. I'm not saying that you don't want to make a big hire, but I don't think that you also need to go out there and wave around the briefcases like, hey, you pop them open and there's nothing but Benjamins in there, and be like, get in the rolls, let's go. Like, I don't know if you want to do that. Ryan is on the line. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning. And for Michigan State, you only throw that money around to do the funniest thing possible and go take the Colorado coach again in Deion Sanders.
Did you just say, go take the Colorado coach again?
Yes.
I think his mic cut off there. Maybe his phone.
Start that rivalry again.
Ben, you still got him?
Yeah, I'm still hearing him.
I
oh, no, maybe it's me. Maybe it's doing that thing where I can't hear the return.
Oh, okay.
That could be it. So if that's it, however this sounds on radio out there in Radio Land, that's going to sound bad. We're going to try to reconnect this thing in the break so that I will be able to hear, because he just went okay. On my end. You could probably still hear him if he's still talking, but I definitely cannot.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I have seen some where Ryan was going with that, hire the Colorado coach again. I don't think that Deion – I'll tell you this. Based on what Joel Klatt said last week, Deion will not go to the NFL. Joel talked to him about, purpose, and, Deion had referenced his ministry. He's a God-fearing man. Got a lot of, I'm good with that. I'm not gonna overdo it with any of that, but he is religious, and religious people tend to have some conviction. And I don't know at what point he got religious, because I can't imagine Deion Sanders in the early 90s was religious, but that's part of the growing and maturation process now, isn't it? I wasn't very religious in the early 2000s. These things happen. But you grow, you mature, and Deion's big thing that Joel Klatt relayed was that he believes his ministry is helping young men. That's what his conviction is. And it's all sunshine and rainbows right now. Like, look, I mean, they got 3-0 start. They beat a rival in Colorado State. I did not expect the CSU Rams against the Colorado Buffaloes to be must-watch television at the end of the night, but I will tell you this much. It was very good to see. The hit at that game that going to cause Travis Hunter to miss some time here, that's very unfortunate. And what's even worse about that hit is that the player who delivered the hit on Travis Hunter, which is the two-way star that Colorado has, just for context here, Henry Blackburn is his name. Before the game was even over, Blackburn's school address, home phone number, cell phone number, all went public. And he received a lot of death threats. Not good. Not good at all. They were investigating a lot of it. The institution said that they were very concerned about his safety. And look, it went viral on social media. The hit did. People are going to immediately back. There is Deion Sanders has got this thing going on at Colorado where, people want to see, I think, them have success. And when that hit took place, was it a cheap shot? Was it a late hit? I say what you want about the hit. Like, at the end of the day, it's still football. I thought last night's hit to Nick Chubb, I thought that was dirty. Guy's going down, you're diving into his legs. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Whether your intent was to strike the knee or not, it looked bad. And to be honest with you, it is bad. The Colorado hit, it's a big hit. The ball is out of play at this point when he gets hit. Is it a cheap shot? Yeah, probably. It's bad that, Hunter got injured on the play, which is, really unfortunate. I believe it's bruised liver. I'll double check. But he's going to be out for multiple weeks. But I think it's like bruised liver or kidney or something like that. Threatening phone calls, text messages, all this stuff going to this kid at Colorado State. Anyways, my point being is I don't think Deion leaves Colorado. I think that Colorado took a shot on him, and it is the only way I think he leaves is if he goes back to his alma mater, which for whatever reason he's kind of went a little astray on. Talk about, I'm not, what do you say? I'm not a Seminole. I graduated from an HBCU. Like, I don't know where the rift is there. And Florida State's having a fine season, so that's okay. But I would definitely keep that if I was a Florida State booster or within that athletic department. I would try to reestablish whatever happened there, good or bad. I would keep those lines of communication open, because that might be a play that, bring the chosen one back. That would be really, really something. As for Michigan State, we'll get back to Ryan's call when we get into the break, and I can disconnect and reconnect and get his thoughts on the whole thing. But my question to Michigan State fans would be: are you relieved now at this point? This is good. I like this right here, because as we're discussing, and I don't know what I said to spark this. Let's not forget Michigan's biggest goal is to beat Ohio State. And then Michigan State is second, and for a long while they could not, and used other stores to cover that stench. Other stores to cover the stench? What kind of stores? Like grocery stores? Look, you don't have to bring Michigan into the conversation. You don't. In a comparison standpoint. I brought Michigan up because that is the goal, is to beat them. And the coaches that have beat them have walked on water for the most part. Mel Tucker was able to. That helped his cause in relation to getting the massive contract. And what have they done? Like, what have they done since? Like, Michigan State is going to make out okay here. They're going to survive the public backlash. Right now, I do have some questions for the AD and how they went about this. And what was known, what wasn't known, stuff like that. I kind of feel like, the integrity of everything. Like, if you're having an investigation, and I know that this isn't how it works, and we learned a lot about how this works on the surface level. We learned a lot about how this works because of this case. But if I was running an organization and someone filed a complaint against my employee, I would want to know who the employee is and what the complaint is, so that it can be addressed immediately. And the sooner you address it, the better off you are. Plain and simple. All this waiting around for months. I mean, the guy still got paid for months until this all hit the fan, and now they have to investigate how Brenda Tracy's name was leaked to the media and everything else. Like, they made it worse. Let's step aside. We'll come back. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for my good friend Matt Golden. Now, he's the CEO and GM at the Tullymore Golf Resort. They're in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, less than an hour north of Grand Rapids. And fall golf is here, and they have some huge deals you can take advantage of on stay-and-play packages, tee times, and more. Just go to tullymoregolf.com. That is tullymoregolf.com. Also, if you want to book a Christmas party for the holidays, you want to squeeze in a business meeting with some golf and great food and beverages, Matt Golden and his team can take care of you right now. Go to tullymoregolf.com. That's tullymoregolf.com. They're also booking big groups who want stay-and-play packages, or maybe you just want to look ahead to the perfect weekend in 2024. Remember, Tullymore is less than an hour north of GR in Canadian Lakes, Michigan. Book your stay-and-play package or get more info now at tullymoregolf.com.
We played for the thrill, that rush you feel with the game on the line. I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver. Now, with Eagle Casino and Sports, the new sportsbook app from Soaring Eagle, anywhere I'm at, I'm still in the game.
Sign up now and get up to $1,000. That's right, up to $1,000 for a risk-free bet on your next favorite underdog, parlay, or prop.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Merc Perks from Mercantile Bank is here. Merc Perks checking has all you need to plan your busy lifestyle. Travel services for hotels, airfare, and cruises, cash back rewards, and even savings on prescriptions, eyewear, and dental work. Merc Perks also includes all the traditional benefits you love, like online and mobile banking, and fee-free access to almost 40,000 MoneyPass ATMs. So when you're ready for perks, Merc is here. Learn more at mymercperks.com, member FDIC.
What are you looking for in a career? What are you looking for in your pursuit of happiness and satisfaction? Let's answer those questions by answering this one. What are you? If you're selfless, courageous, dedicated, disciplined, and humble, your happiness and satisfaction may be in a new career in law enforcement. Visit MichiganPoliceChiefs.org today or simply walk into your local police department and start the conversation. You may find the answer to all of your questions.
If you or your family is touched by autism, learn more about Freddy's Foundation at #PopTheTab at FreddyThePizzaman.com. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com, or email FreddyThePizzaman@gmail.com.
Good morning, everyone.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's a good morning. Wake up to a brand new day. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, Vietnam.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Welcome back. Good morning, AB. JD continues to haunt us as Tigers fans. Yes, he does. But I'll tell you this much. In my experience one-on-one with JD Martinez, I really enjoyed him. I really did. So you have that to look forward to. Let's get back over to Ryan Elke. He called in. I lost the return audio, which means I can't hear anything from the opposite side. But now I can hear him, and I can hear all of you. And this is a beautiful thing. Welcome back, Ryan.
Good morning. Can you hear me now? Are we doing the Verizon commercial?
Well, do you have Verizon, by the way, on your cell phone for your service?
I don't.
Okay, and I wonder about this because I went from Sprint to Verizon thinking that it was going to be the holy grail of moves, and now all of a sudden, my phone calls drop left and right, and I'm like, what's going on here? I thought we had this new 5G, 10G, LTE super satellite thing. Like, why doesn't this work? I don't know. Just minor complaint.
Yeah. So as you were saying, kind of to Mel Tucker and what's next, and honestly, Tucker can refute and try to sue for some money. But one little thing, Tucker didn't just say, yeah, I did some of this. He said he did all of it in the claims. The only debate is consent. And so if you're Tucker, if he's going to fight that, it's more just to clear his own name for his future coaching jobs. That's really all he has left to fight for. And for MSU, as the contract says, that really doesn't matter for MSU's next step. Because it's more of like, hey, you already breached this part of your contract. Whether or not the consent part is true, that's kind of irrelevant to Michigan State. Because that doesn't matter. So really, Tucker just has to fight to clear his own name for his future employment. So, and I still think he's still going to sue the school more than likely because he's going to try to recoup some money, and it'll be a long process for that. So that's just more of like, deal with that on a different day because here's where we are now. Like, you already brought shame, disappointment, all that to the university. There's no coming back whether or not the hearing goes your way or not.
Yeah, and for him, like you said, now it's about his name for any future opportunities that he may have, which I assume is going to be a little bit of a struggle, and he'll probably have to step away from the game for a little while. It's not like he doesn't have some money in the bank, so that's a positive. But do you, as a Spartan, do you question at all the process and why it took so long to get here?
No, because kind of seeing what was going on, since it was like a Title IX type investigation, it was a little different since it was a vendor and not a student. A lot of those, details were hidden from administration. So for administration knew who filed the complaint and who it was against. That's it. And they do it so that way when they have these hearings, they can have a fair judgment. There's no meddling with who filed the claim or just trying to unjustly fire someone before details come out. But then you just have this leak that happens, 6 weeks before the hearing, and all the details came out. So at Michigan State's next step is really just like, all right, they just hired a lawyer to see how this leak happened. And then that's really their next step in part of this is finding out where the leak was. So I don't question the timeline because kind of seeing that all get played out of like, yeah, well, they weren't supposed to know the details. And they really did it until the USA Today article came out a little over a week ago. So I'm actually fine with just how it was handled. It's just MSU did a very poor job of explaining how they were handling it, because it sounds like they handled it by the book.
Yeah, really, when you factor in everything that you had said about that, the only thing that I wonder moving forward is if there will be a change in that process, because if the university looks at, okay, we received this complaint, how long does the investigation take, and how long do we have somebody on the payroll for something like this? And this just isn't a Michigan State thing. This is, across campuses and maybe workplaces in general across the country, is that how then, if you can suspend without pay once things go public, why wouldn't you want some of the information to be, I guess, more of that information accessible for the decision makers and those that have to execute a termination like this, so that therefore they could have, maybe said in the winter, hey, Mel Tucker's suspended, with cause and without pay until the conclusion of this investigation. We're going to move forward with Coach X here to, lead the football program in his absence until we determine what happened.
Yeah, and a lot of this, too, it's just weird in general, because this Title IX type investigation is normally for student and university employee. So the fact that it was a university vendor, like, a lot of those protections are in place for students that are filing the claim. So I think it was just because it was just a weird one-off situation where it kind of fell under this umbrella. It caused a lot of, like I don't know, weirdness to all of it.
Very.
Like you're not dealing with some 19-year-old that filed a claim, and you're trying to protect the 19-year-old from facing backlash from university employees or tampering from university employees on a student, where there's a weird power dynamic.
Right. Very. And to be honest with you, unfortunate for, East Lansing, but, maybe a little bit of a learning experience for everyone across the board to say, hey, okay, here's what happened here. What do we do at our institution? How do we take this? How can everybody sort of kind of learn from this, from a procedural standpoint, that, if this were to happen again, let's say at pick a school, Kansas, that they can, maybe they look at this and say, okay, we have an example of a process, something that we liked about this process, something that we didn't like about this process, and then how do we go about maybe streamlining and saving, what do you make, like $4 million or something crazy?
Something like that.
Yeah, in the time span, like, hey, maybe we don't have to spend this. So it will be, it'll be very interesting to see the direction that the program goes next. And then, now that we're entering Big Ten play, is there anything salvageable for the program moving forward?
Anything salvageable, and honestly, when the official firing takes place, see what happens with this roster. Once the firing is official, the transfer portal for Michigan State players opens up for 30 days, and you're going to have to see what happens with recruiting. I mean, one of State's big recruits from in-state here, Nick Marsh, I just saw last night, he was offered by Colorado and Deion Sanders. So it's like, I think Michigan State's recruiting class for the, upcoming one was that entirely big at the moment. So it's like, if you're already going to lose those type of recruits that you had locked in, it's like, what's the next 2 years going to look like for whoever's the next head coach?
Challenging. That's about all I could tell you. Challenging is what it's going to look like for whomever has the head role there now at Michigan State. And I do mean this with sincerity. The Big Ten is better when there's more teams that are competitive. The rivalry is better. Even when Kenneth Walker, we were on the air together, the two of us, and Kenneth Walker goes ham that year. But undefeated versus undefeated, both teams were 7-0 going into that game. Like that was special. Even though my team didn't win that game, that was a very special Saturday for the rivalry and for all of sports fans in this state that love football, and to have sort of that national spotlight. That's definitely something that I hope that it returns to. We'll step aside. We'll be back with more X's and Bros after this here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Bill Simonson here for my good friend Josh Garvey. He is a managing partner at Bean Garter, soon to be Dorn Mayhew, and they'll be stronger together. And did you know Bean Garter can help your business with outsourcing your payroll and other business needs? That can help ease tax filing and year-end reporting, compliance reporting, human resources management, time and attendance tracking, and more. Just go to beangarter.com to find out more how they can help your payroll system and make your workplace that much smoother. Go to beangarter.com. That's BEENEGARTR.com, and they can help you with all your payroll needs. Like I mentioned, tax filing and year-end reporting, compliance reporting, human resources management, time and attendance tracking, and more. All your payroll needs can be handled by the team at Bean Garter. Find out more at beangarter.com.
There are 13 folds that bring the American flag to the iconic shape of freedom. This summer, Folds of Honor and Budweiser celebrate 13 years of changing military and first responder lives together. Service never stops, and neither will we. So join me in raising a Budweiser to raise funds for Folds of Honor.
Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Budweiser Lager Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
No one cares what you've been through. No one cares about your hopes, your dreams, your desire to make a difference in this world. Guess what? That isn't true. Law enforcement cares. That's why people join the force. Maybe they came from a world where those things are true. Maybe they didn't. But here's something they have in common. They do care. Maybe you should consider being around people who truly care about you. Visit MichiganPoliceChiefs.org and start the conversation.
every 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
You're listening to Michigan's statewide morning show, X's and Bros, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you riding along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening. Hey, folks, now it's a great time as the season's winding down. Weather's getting a little colder. Allegedly, we're going to have a warm front that's going to come through here, but temperatures are rapidly decreasing. Golf season is coming to a close, but it's not too late to book your stay and play at the beautiful Tullymore Golf Resort in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, located about an hour north of GR, 30 minutes west of Mount Pleasant. We're in that weather now where when you tee off, you probably have pants and you have your polo on, maybe some sort of long sleeve windbreaker or something of that nature. And then by the time you make the turn, you've peeled the windbreaker off and you're comfortable again. That's kind of where we're at in the golfing calendar. But Canadian Lakes, it's always sunny in Canadian Lakes. Call 1-800-972-4837. That's 1-800-972-4837. Dial up my buddy Matt Golden and book a stay and play there. Or just drive over and squeeze around it because, why wouldn't you? They got the perfect accommodations, great golf, great space for you, your wedding, your reception, your event, whatever you want to do. Hosted at Tullymore, the hidden gem right in the middle of the state. Visit TullymoreGolf.com, TullymoreGolf.com. So yesterday, because we're on schedule, a lot of calls, a lot of texts, a lot of stuff taking place. Never got an opportunity to get you caught up in the world of college football, so that we have some time to breathe here. Let's do it. Let's hop right into it. Our college football scoreboard. It all began last Thursday night. Miami, ranked number 22 in the country at the time. They beat up on Bethune-Cookman 48-7. That's how you're supposed to handle business against a lesser opponent down there in Hard Rock Stadium. Watch out for Miami. Telling you, they might be back. Then moving into Saturday's slate, number 2, Michigan beat Bowling Green 31-6. Number 6, Ohio State over Western Kentucky 63-10. Also another really good example of how you beat up on a lesser opponent. Number 8, Washington beat Michigan State 41-7. Michael Penix, 473 through the air, 4 touchdowns. Don't want to relive that at all. Number 9, Notre Dame beat Central Michigan 41-17. That's a nice game. Central Michigan did all their damage in the first 3 quarters, too, so I think that's a positive if you're going to pull that away from the Chippewas, who are 1-2 on the season. Notre Dame now 4-0, looking at Ohio State this week. Wow, what a game. Number 1, Georgia beat South Carolina 24-14. Number 3, Florida State survived a scare. Boston College scored 13 unanswered in the fourth quarter, made it 31-29. Little too close for comfort there if you are a Seminoles fan. They might want to get something figured out. I don't know why it went that direction for Florida State. It was one of those weekends. It was week 3. It was a terrible schedule of games, and there were some teams that were highly ranked that had some issues. They would be one of them. Texas had to score 21 points in the fourth quarter to beat Wyoming. They were up 10-7 at halftime. They were tied at 10s in the third quarter. Paging Texas. It's time to wake up. Number 7, Penn State beat Illinois 30-13. Number 10, Alabama 17-3 over South Florida. That's kind of interesting. Lane Kiffin claims that maybe not their typical D coordinator calling plays. Nick Saban had to respond to that. Saban and Kiffin, again, great drama in the SEC. 4 players were suspended, by the way. In this next game, it was Tennessee against Florida. Florida beat number 11 Tennessee 29-16. The Gators are now 2-1 after their opening week loss to the Utah Utes. Joe Milton, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and 287 yards through the air for Tennessee. Not a good look there for the Volunteers, who fall to 2-1. Utah, they continue their undefeated season, 31-7 over Weber State. Number 13, Oregon, 55-10 over Hawaii. Number 14, LSU smacked Mississippi State, 41-14. Missouri upset Kansas State because their kicker hit a 61-yard bomb. 30-27 as time expired. Shout out to Mizzou. Upset City over Kansas State. Number 16, Oregon State, 26-9 winners over San Diego State. Number 17, Ole Miss beat Georgia Tech 48-23. Number 18, Colorado in double OT in the nightcap, 43-35 winners over Colorado State. Number 19, Oklahoma over Tulsa, 66-17. North Carolina beat Minnesota. Tar Heels ranked 20th at the time. They won 31-13. The Duke Blue Devils beat Northwestern in the Academic Bowl, 38-14. Washington State, number 23 in the country, beat Northern Colorado 64-21. UCLA beat North Carolina Central 59-7, and Iowa beat Western Michigan 41-10. That was a look at the top 25. Of course, we had a bunch of Big Ten teams in there, so we'll be able to skip over what took place in the Big Ten, and then we'll get to the action as well. Maryland beat Virginia 42-14. That's a good win for the Terps. Congratulations to them, I suppose. Indiana lost at home to Louisville. Louisville's undefeated now at 3-0 on the season. They won 24-14 over the Hoosiers. Wisconsin rebounded, beating Georgia Southern 35-14. Still got some questions. Tanner Mordecai ran for 2 touchdowns in that ball game, but Luke Fickell's crew 2-1. Rutgers beats Virginia Tech 35-16. Rutgers is Michigan's upcoming opponent. Syracuse executed maybe the greatest fake handoff in the history of fake handoffs, and their quarterback scampered all the way in for the end zone. Garrett Schrader had 4 rushing TDs on the day. 35-20 they beat Purdue, and Nebraska beat Northern Illinois 35-11, which is kind of what we'd expect a little bit. But speaking of the MAC, the Mid-American Conference did have a couple of Power 5 wins, so they get to hoist the black flag, hoist the old Jolly Roger there for the Mid-American Conference. Good for them. Toledo beat San Jose State 21-17. That was a tightly contested ball game. They were down 10-7 at the half, scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. Shout out to my guys, DeQuan Finn and company at the University of Toledo. TOL, EDO, all that good stuff. Liberty improved to 3-0 after a 55-27 trouncing over Buffalo. Can Buffalo get Khalil Mack back? Is that going to be possible? Boy, that program's in bad shape. Iowa State lost to Ohio. How about those Bobcats? 10-7 winners over the Cyclones. Kansas State beat Central Connecticut 38-10. Eastern Michigan beat UMass at Rynearson Stadium 19-17. Ball State beat Indiana State. No Larry Bird there, 45-7. Miami, Ohio beat Cincinnati. Oh, they missed Luke Fickell already. 31-24. Cincinnati falls to 2-1. Miami improves to 2-1. Good win there over a Power 5 opponent. And Kentucky smoked Akron 35-3. And that is a full look at the college football scoreboard. The new rankings were released by the Associated Poll. I'll have my poll rankings out tomorrow. The real top 25, not the AP, but the AB top 25. Georgia's in at number 1. Michigan still at number 2. Suspicious. They even got 2 votes to be the best team in the country. I don't know what those guys are watching. It ain't the same ball game. Texas got 3 votes for number 1. They are number 3 in the country. They moved up. Questionable there because they played Wyoming and they needed a whole lot of points there at the end. Florida State, they fell 1, which makes sense. They would fall if you're Florida State. They did get 1 vote to be number 1 in the country, but they fell down to 4 at 3-0. Then you had USC checking in at number 5, Ohio State at 6, Penn State at 7, Washington at 8, Notre Dame at 9. How is Notre Dame 9? Trust me, I'm going to have this adjusted, folks. Notre Dame, got to move up. Oregon, got to move up. Washington, moving up. Penn State going down. Michigan going down. Florida State going down. Texas going down. Like, come on, guys. Oregon was 10, Utah 11. LSU has jumped up to 12, followed up by Alabama, who fell 3 spots. Oregon State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. North Carolina's in at 17. Duke is at 18. Colorado is at 19. Miami's at 20. How is Miami at 20? They only moved up 2 spots. Washington State at 21. UCLA at 22. Tennessee at 23. Iowa at 24. And Florida back in the top 25 at number 25. Clemson, Missouri, Kansas State, TCU, Fresno State, Kansas, Tulane, Kentucky, Maryland, BYU, Wisconsin, Syracuse, Louisville, and Auburn, all receiving votes. The only team that dropped from those rankings was Kansas State. And for some reason, they're still... I get that they lost to Missouri on the road. I understand. But still, it's Missouri. Like, you got to be better than that. It's Missouri. You're like losing to Vanderbilt. It's the same thing. So, I've got my beef with the AP Top 25. My new rankings will be out. They'll be released tomorrow. Unleash the hounds. We just had a lot to work. We got a lot of work to get done. And that's why they come out on Wednesdays. Gives me a little buffer time here on the world of college football. All right, we're going to step aside. When we return, we'll talk to the coach, Kyle Barlow. He will join us, all things Michigan sports. Did get a couple of text messages. One is an absolute troll. Next state head coach Tyrone Wheatley, big NFL ties as well. I don't know what the NFL ties have to do with taking the Michigan State job. As far as I knew, you could not recruit NFL players to college, and they're going to find you no matter what. I mean, did you know the city of Detroit has the most NFL active players right now with 19? Pretty crazy. Barlow joins us next, Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. Go bowling for bucks to win premium play prizes that are right up your alley. Drawings are every Friday in September from 7 to 11 p.m. And one lucky winner every hour strikes up to $3,000 premium play. Roll the ball and hit your lucky strike with Bowling for Bucks. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
If you or your family is touched by autism, learn more about Freddy's Foundation at #PopTheTab at FreddyThePizzaman.com. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com, or email FreddyThePizzaman@gmail.com.
You're listening to Michigan's statewide morning show, X's and Bros, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. A reminder that the NFL Week 3 action will be heating up with Thursday Night Football. Get in on all that action with the DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the National Football League. New customers can bet $5 on football. Get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 brand new offers every single game day this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app right now. Use the promo code HUGE. Promo code HUGE. New customers betting just $5 and taking home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings. Only using the promo code HUGE. The crown is yours. Now, if you or somebody who knows a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline, won't you? 800-270-7117, 21 plus, Michigan only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. That's Ben Glaze and Ryan Elke. I'm Anthony Bellino. Join us on the horn right now. A Concordia alum, 2-sport athlete at the illustrious Concordia University, might I add. Did his GA years under John Beilein at the University of Michigan and currently patrolling the sidelines at Ohio University. Our good friend, the coach, Kyle Barlow. Find him on Twitter at Kyle Barlow 4. Send your kids huddle tape there. Coach Barlow, good morning to you, my friend. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man, especially after that intro music. You know, a little Eminem, a little psychotic hypnotic product, got an antibiotic. Remember that song, man? That was good.
You know,
man.
let's start there. I understand that we're all in the same age demographic. I get the 8 Mile. I understand, for a few months there, everybody wanted to be poor. I get it. But it's a funny way to put it, right? But yeah. I'm done. I'm over it. Like till I collapse for football games. Lose yourself at any moment where I want to have mom's spaghetti. Let's move on. Like we're there. We have beat this dead horse with a sledgehammer to a bloody pulp. Like let's just go. Like because I hear it every game day, so it's different, right? And it's like Q, lose yourself because it's a real pivotal moment. Like, we're at the point now where guys in the league weren't even alive when that came out.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to say that, until I collapse and lose yourself, but I'm saying you dug deep in the catalog for that intro, and that's what I like, man. That wasn't, lose yourself. That wasn't the real Slim Shady. I mean, you went real deep with that one. I like it. You got me fired up with it. It wasn't until I collapsed.
I'm glad, and you can thank Ben Glaze for that. He's the one triggering all of the things. He's the one dialing up. We still use dial phones, I guess.
But Bellino, quit being such an old man with this, man. Like, look, Dan Campbell said he's building this with the spirit of Detroit, right? Like, we're Detroit people, we're Michiganders, we're Michigan people, we're blue collar. We go to work. So let me get some Eminem, man. Amon-Ra St. Brown said, tape an aspirin to it. Get a steel plate in my shoe. I'm going back in the game, right? Like, these are the kind of guys that, we're going to win with and that he wants to win with. So I love it, man. Like, let's keep the spirit of Detroit in there. I don't care if you're getting annoyed on the sideline. Get the people going.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not the only rapper to come out of Detroit. Like Young Jeezy, although not from Detroit with a lot of Detroit ties, let's go with Young Jeezy. Just give me anything. Like, it's not even Old Man Yells at Cloud. It's just for years and years of working downriver cage fighting matches, everybody came out to Eminem just to get in there and beat the hell out of each other. And it was what an experience that I am glad that I was able to share in with those good folks, punking each other in the head. But regardless of all of that, how we have hit last year we were like injury free, right? We just struggled to start the season. This year is completely different with the late news of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Outdated a poll question that I put out because Taylor Decker did not play in that game. Big V, he went out in the game. You had David Montgomery's going to be sidelined for a few weeks. James Houston broke his ankle. And then last night we learned that it's a torn pec for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Still waiting the official word to figure out whether or not he is out for the season. But the injury bug we were clean last year. We've got it this year.
Yeah, and I think that's sports, right? And that's why you build depth, and that's why you draft, and that's why hitting on your third, fourth, fifth, sixth round draft picks for a couple years straight is big. because you bring in these free agents in the secondary or wherever, and you hope that you can have that depth built. And, you look at it, we have depth at that middle linebacker position, or we just can't figure out who the heck to play because none of them could cover a tight end against the Seahawks. So who knows? But, yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like I thought I put the kiss of death on Montgomery because I was just texting my buddy who's a Bears fan. And I said, man, I love this dude because he just runs over people, right? He runs hard. He runs with a purpose. You're getting a couple yards, a la Nick Chubb, speaking of injuries. He makes something out of nothing in the backfield. He's going to get you a couple yards. And so right after I texted that, he went down. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't look too bad. He's holding his hip. We're going to be okay. But obviously not the case, man. So, I guess that's the NFL. Browns fans are going to say the same thing. Probably all around the league. The Seahawks said, all we heard about was how they're on their third and fourth string linemen, and we still couldn't get a pass rush. So it's the NFL, man. Some people are going to make excuses based on that, and some people are going to still win football games.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Like, some guys are just going to go out there and win football games. And I look at this, and I know that we were riding our high horses for week one, and it was great, right? And then a very winnable game that I have some questions for. I question the lack of urgency there when we got the football back with 8 minutes. Like that really bothered me when we did that. It also kind of bothered me that when we had the ball at the 50-yard line with 1:45, that we just didn't it just didn't feel like we had any intention to go down there and score. And that bugged me a lot.
Yeah, no, I think all the Lions fans, every fan wanted them to go score, including me. And, you being there live, I'm sure you heard that from the crowd, from a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, ensure that you get the field goal, ensure that the other team doesn't have time left on the clock. And then it's a coin flip, right? And even if you lose the coin flip, all you got to do is hold them to a field goal. So, I mean, I don't mind it. And, I think that it's interesting how aggressive Dan Campbell and Lions can be in some situations and how conservative in others. But, I didn't mind the conservativeness to ensure that we get the field goal. And obviously we couldn't get a stop the entire game. So who knows, like Patty Mahomes could do it in 18 seconds, right? Shadur Sanders can channel his inner Tom Brady, and those guys weren't even half as good as Geno Smith was at marching down the field against the Lions. So, yeah, I don't mind it, man.
Yeah, and I look at, the point you made about not having a pass rush, right? Interior defensive linemen, the Pro Football Focus grades came out, and folks, they are ugly. We got to do something there. Something's got to change, whether it's schematically or personnel wise. Like they gotta find something that's going to work. When it comes to developing some sort of pass rush, because they sent a house blitz, they got after him. But outside of that, it was Geno Smith, taking the ball, having his time, stepping up the pocket, delivering strikes to soft spots in the zone, finding everybody that was wide open. Just really, really disappointing. And I want to remind fans that we did play two opponents that were in the playoffs last year. So, no, transitive property not existing in sports, but it does still matter that these teams had some success last year and look to be, the Seahawks laid an egg in week one. We laid an egg. It just so happened to be at home in week two, and now it's on to Atlanta.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of we've talked about on this show before, but I was nervous going into this game just the way that LA beat the brakes off the Seahawks, right? And it's like, we all know this is a zigzag league. Like one week to the next, teams can look completely different. It's a league of parity. Geno Smith is really good. That receiving core and for the Seahawks is really good. And it's like that wasn't them week one against the Rams. The Rams had a great week. They didn't. It kind of went opposite. I don't think we felt like the Lions played unbelievable and flawless in week one, but it was a big win. And now you got the Seahawks talking about how hungry they were, right? And how focused they were. That wasn't them. And, their middle linebackers stop in practice. Pete Carroll and the coaches don't even have to do it, but them stop in practice saying this is not good enough. It was a different dynamic in the practice field in Seattle than it was in Detroit. Let's be honest, it's human nature, and especially with a league like the NFL where from week to week you usually are zigging and zagging. And I think we saw it in week one and week two for both these teams.
I wish we would have zigged. I am glad, however, that the ski mask thing is basically basically done. I'm not going to lie. Like that had its own, it was one of those things where we're not like going to promote it. We're not going to talk about it. Like it just is what it is. And that's that. But not as many people showed up with it as I thought that they were going to, which was good. I'm glad it wasn't a night game because that's the last thing we need. But yeah, it just, to me, we don't need to be villains. We don't need to steal a W like Hunter Dickinson. We just need to go out there and win. Like, that's it. That's all we got to do.
Was that fake news too? I mean, you were at the game, and you just said it wasn't as many as you would think. Was it the blue ski mask being sold out on Amazon? Was that fake news? Was that just something that somebody said and everybody ran with it? Because of all like literally Amazon, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, ran out of blue ski masks. Like, I don't know. I'm throwing the yellow flag. I'm throwing the red flag on that one. I want an instant replay on that one.
Are you going to spike it like Belichick did on the sideline this week?
Yeah, I'll just drop it as the ref is setting the chain. That was awesome. Better than Jim Schwartz. Remember Jim Schwartz he threw the flag so hard at the ref when he was the head coach of the Lions. He got a 15-yard penalty. So the call got overturned because it's such a bold bleep call, but then he got a 15-yard penalty for throwing the flag on the ref, so it ended up being a nothing burger. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I
was like, what are we doing?
Go on the penalties, and I know that the Lions had less penalties than the Seahawks, but the egregious holding. And, of course, we get the text message that says that there's holding in every NFL, or they're holding in the NFL every play. Sure, I guess, but most of the time you don't see the guy running to the quarterback and the offensive lineman's arm wrapped around him from behind like he's giving him a hug and then ripping the jersey. Like, you don't normally see it like that. Usually you got your hands inside, and as long as your hands are inside, you can, kind of get away with it. But that was just atrocious. Like,
well, that and then the PI calls, like the the one PI call on the Lions, and then the two no calls on Seattle. And it's just like, okay, but you know what the best part about week one was as Lions fans, like, I still think there's some controversial plays and some things that didn't go right that were outside of Lions' control. But guess what? The Lions still won the game, and that's very un-Lions-like. I think that's why we all got very excited in week one. Like, I think, like, a good team, like, hopefully we're a good team. Hopefully we're going to move past this. And that's what I kept thinking in the game on Sunday. It's like, okay, like, I don't think we're getting a good whistle, even though that, the Seahawks have more penalties. I thought the intentional grounding was crazy. But, the PI call specifically, and even, the broadcast, and then the Dean Blandino, whoever it is, your cousin, comes in and tells us all about, how I don't like that one. But you know what? Good teams overcome that and rise above it, and that's what the Lions did in week one. I think that's why we're so excited. It's because we weren't calling in and being like, oh man, we got screwed by the refs again. Why is it always us?
Yeah, no, you're right. You are right. Good teams have to overcome. I like that. A good whistle, right? Are we getting a good whistle? Do you and Coach Bowles talk about that? Like, hey, we're getting a bad whistle tonight. We're getting a good whistle.
You just know there's certain places that you're going to go into and you're going to get a bad whistle. Or certain referees, we know them so well. And I'm sure in the NFL you know them so well too, if you're the coaches and players, because, there's a lot of games. You're getting multiple crews probably per year and you get to know them. But, yeah, you're not getting a good whistle in some places or some refs. And good teams overcome it. Bad teams will make excuses. Or average teams will make excuses.
Is that something that you write the league about? You say, hey, look, like here's what it is. Here's the tape. Here's the data that we have. This guy refs our games. This is how we feel. Is that like an actual? Do you guys like file a complaint almost?
It's not a formal complaint, but every coach in the league does it. And, you'll send in your clips and, here's why and blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, again, like I think a lot of people stop doing it after a while, after the season goes on, because it's not going to change. And it's like, okay, yeah, the head of officiating or whoever, the associate commissioner hits you back and said, yep, clip 1, I agree. Clip 3, I agree. Clip 5, I agree. Clip 7, I agree with you. So, yeah, you got screwed. Oh, by the way, you lost by 1. Oh, okay. All right, well, does that make you feel better? Or are you just wasting time and worried about things you can't control?
I got to imagine that some coaches are way more involved in that. Like just clipping the whole game. Here's 3 hours of clips. Look at this mess, just hollering, just spitting at their keyboard as they're typing.
I remember back in the day, Coach being like, I won't tell you who the ref was, but I just heard it all the way from my office down the hall. Get him off our games. And I could only imagine who he was talking to.
Oh my goodness. Was there one ref you really liked? Like I always really enjoyed, and now his name, he does the Gene Steratore. Gene Steratore I always really liked because he would come over to the scores table and get because we had one guy that just his job was to track subs and bring snacks. And I don't know if you've ever tried to announce a game with a cashew in your mouth, but sometimes it's about being a professional. And if you got to spit some cashew on the screen while you're trying to make the call, you got to play through it. But Gene would come over and load up in his pockets like cashews, M&Ms, all kinds of stuff, and then go run around and like eat cashews during the game. I'm like, you're going to choke trying to blow that whistle.
You know what? Gene was always really good. It was funny. When I was a GA at Michigan, it was like 2012. Like all those Big Ten guys are good. I was talking to him during one of the media timeouts, and I was like, man, I got to tell you, though, I'm a Lions fan. Because if you remember, Gene Steratore one with the process of the catch rule, right, with Calvin.
Yep.
And he looks at me, and he just starts laughing. He's like, man, I told Calvin a couple weeks later when I had one of his games, I said, you better not go one shy of breaking the NFL record for touchdowns, because then I would feel really bad. And so we had a good laugh about it. So Gene was good, but you know who else is good, man? And the guys who were retired specifically, but Br0's, man, he was always really good. I like Bo. He was, he had a good sense of humor. Those guys have to. If you're sticking around in the league where you're just being verbally abused by the Big Ten coaches, we all know who those culprits are. If you can stick in that league, you got to be a pretty even-keeled, have a good head on your shoulders. And, Bo, it was funny. I was scouting a game when we played Illinois during the pandemic, and Kofi Coburn was playing Chicago State, and I was sitting on the side scouting. And we were the only ones there because it was a pandemic. You weren't allowed in. So he would come over at every media, and we'd be talking. I said, man, how do you ref guys like Kofi and Zach Edey? He's like, dude, it's impossible. Like, he's like, I can call foul every play. And then as the live gameplay is going on, we're like opposite of the bench on the court side. And Kofi like misses a layup, and Bo's running down. He's like, see, probably should have called foul there, but I didn't.
Do you think that?
All right. Meanwhile, Brad Underwood is losing it. He's like, see, should have called foul there.
Brad Underwood is the guy, like the meme of the little orange cartoon guy where his head explodes, like he puts his fist down and the flame shoots out of his head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly.
That's what he is. He is that gif right there, Brad Underwood. I think that's interesting. Do you think Bo gets an invitation to Tom Izzo's Christmas party?
Bo's one of the few guys who will tee up legends of coaching. Like, he's one of the few guys that actually will. Now, the good ones like him, they have a long leash, right? They have a lot longer leash than a coach. You're in your third year coaching as a head coach in the MAC. But they have a long leash, and Bo's one of the few who will actually do it. Like, I've seen, like, it's funny because we get some of the same refs in the MAC that go Big Ten because it's a consortium, so they go up and down. So we get some of the fringe ones that are both up and down. And it's like, I see a coach in our league get teed up, whether it's us or the opponent, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, I watched Big Ten Network last Sunday. Like, you let some of these coaches get away with basically verbal assault, like the files could be charged, and you let these coaches get away with it, and then like our coach says one thing, and you just can't take it anymore. Like, that's
it's the buildup. That's what it is. He's been harassed for so long. It's all that buildup that's weighing on him. He's the coach, Cal Barlow. Always fun catching up with him on a Tuesday morning. Coach Barlow, my man. Have a great week, my friend.
Yep. See ya.
Hour 3 is next. X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for my good friend Matt Golden. Now, he's the CEO and GM at the Tullymore Golf Resort. They're in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, less than an hour north of Grand Rapids. And fall golf is here, and they have some huge deals you can take advantage of on stay-and-play packages, tee times, and more. Just go to tullymoregolf.com. That is tullymoregolf.com. Also, if you want to book a Christmas party for the holidays, you want to squeeze in a business meeting with some golf and great food and beverages, Matt Golden and his team can take care of you right now. Go to tullymoregolf.com. That's tullymoregolf.com. They're also booking big groups who want stay-and-play packages, or maybe you just want to look ahead to the perfect weekend in 2024. Remember, Tullymore is less than an hour north of GR in Canadian Lakes, Michigan. Book your stay-and-play package or get more info now at tullymoregolf.com.
Elevate your night out. at the legendary Roots Chris Steakhouse, now open at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Start with the finest cuts of USDA prime beef. Pair that with handcrafted cocktails, signature sides, and Roots' legendary hospitality, and you've got yourself one incredible night. Roots Chris Steakhouse has arrived. Make a reservation at rootschris.com for your incredible night at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined.
Fuel up for less with M-Perks. Earn points on your purchases when you shop at Meijer in-store and online. Then use your points to claim a fuel reward and save at the pump. Your dollar goes further at the pump with M-Perks. Plus, earn points for all qualifying purchases in the Meijer Express station. And keep a lookout for exclusive Meijer Express offers. Enter your M-Perks ID at checkout to earn. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Wisconsin. Max 30 gallons. Download the Meijer app to sign up or see Meijer.com to learn more.
Merck Perks from Mercantile Bank is here. Merck Perks checking has all you need to plan your busy lifestyle. Travel services for hotels, airfare, and cruises, cashback rewards, and even savings on prescriptions, eyewear, and dental work. Merck Perks also includes all the traditional benefits you love, like online and mobile banking, and fee-free access to almost 40,000 MoneyPass ATMs. So when you're ready for perks, Merck is here. Learn more at mymerckperks.com, member FDIC.
If you or your family is touched by autism, learn more about Freddy's Foundation at #PopTheTap at freddythepizzaman.com. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com, or email freddythepizzaman@gmail.com.
Later today at 3, it's The Huge Show, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
It's time for Michigan Sports Talk Morning Show, broadcasting live all across the state of Michigan and Northwest Ohio. This is X's and Bros.
Swings it out to Sadiq Bey. Defended in the corner. To Abdul-Rahman at midcourt. Extra pass. And it goes for the win. The three-pointer by Jordan Poole. Here's the give. Walker. Kenneth Walker. Touchdown. Sparty. Goff's got it. Back. Looks. Throws. Ends up. Yes. Caught. Touchdown. Detroit Lions. They did it. Amon-Ra St. Brown in the receiving end. Sends one to deep left center field. Back it goes, and that ball's out of here. A grand slam from Miguel Cabrera. He's got 2 goals. Larkin in on goal. Scores! His first career hat trick in his 7th season for Dylan Larkin.
Here's your host, Anthony Bellino.
Rise and shine, folks. Welcome back here. Hour number 3 of X's and Bros, coming to you live all across the great state of Michigan and in Northwest Ohio and worldwide on the iHeartRadio app. We say good morning to you. We welcome you. We thank you. We appreciate you. And, of course, we encourage you to join the show at any time. You can text the keyword sports radio. Send that to 21,000. Sports radio to 21000. Meyer Supercenter guest line, 866-838-4843. 866-838-4843. We're on Twitter at XB Mornings, Facebook, X's and Bros. And, of course, good morning to our television audience as well on BCSN and streaming live on our YouTube page at Michigan Sports Network. Add a .com to that to find our website. xbmornings@gmail.com is our fan feedback email inbox. And you can find us all individually on Twitter. Ryan Elke is at RyanL_Key. Ben Glaze is at the Ben Glaze, and I'm Anthony Bellino at AC Bellino. All right, what's going on in the sports world? We'll try to get you all caught up with all the happenings. We'll do so right now in the headlines.
Big news.
I have a little news flash.
Let's check the headlines.
No, it's real news for once.
The biggest stories of the local, regional, and national news.
This is huge news.
An ESPN/ABC double dip of Monday Night Football last night. Why they did it this way, why would you run 2 games simultaneously? Like, I can't watch Saints-Panthers at the same time. I mean, you could try, but it's hard. It's hard when you're multi-screening. You miss out on a lot. And then have, Steelers-Browns kicking off 15 minutes later or half an hour later, whatever it was. Like, why didn't they do a 6:30 and a 9? They can just do it that way. In an East Coast game and a West Coast game. It doesn't make any sense. But regardless, 2 games last night in Monday Night Football. We'll have a full NFL scoreboard coming up. The Saints beat the Panthers 20-17. Pittsburgh beats the Cleveland Browns 26-22. I actually like the all-whites for the Browns. I know that some fans were not big fans of those jerseys, but I thought it was a really, really clean look. Here is an interesting figure for you from last night's Monday Night Football game. The Steelers entered the fourth quarter trailing the Browns by 3 points. Pittsburgh generated -7 yards of offense in the fourth quarter and won the game by 4. It's the NFL. That is the NFL. And Deshaun Watson, first time I've ever seen, and I was conversing with Dave in the DMs. We were conversing back and forth about the game because he wanted to apologize for that lack of offense that we saw from the Steelers. But, he was talking about Deshaun Watson got 2 personal fouls. I think that's the first time I saw a QB get 1, let alone 2. I have never seen that before. Deshaun Watson grabbing guys' face masks. Like, dude, relax. Stiff arm. And I've always said this. If you're going to stiff arm somebody, why does the offensive player get to hit the face mask, but the defensive player doesn't? Why? How, Sway? Explain it to me. Somebody. Now, the bad news about this game, Browns running back Nick Chubb not expected to return this year after his knee injury. They called it a significant knee injury. It looked awful. It was just a graphic shot from Minkah Fitzpatrick. He was being tackled. His leg was planted, and Fitzpatrick came in and just it's probably the ugliest one I've seen since Willis McGahee. Yeah. I mean, the contact was it a dirty shot? I don't know. They're playing football. The guy's being tackled. You're diving at somebody's legs. Like, it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the situation in the NFL. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes got a historic payday. He restructured his deal Now, he already had that 10-year, $450 million extension that he signed during the COVID summer 2020. Now, the restructure is going to give him $210.6 million between 2023 and 2026, the most money in NFL history over a 4-season span. It's now guaranteed, and he was 8th highest paid. Eventually, your team's going to get hit by the cap. Like, it's going to happen. And I don't understand what the constant obsession is. We know you're the best player in the league. Like, why would you restructure and take more money? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So, hopefully the Chiefs' reign of terror is over. I could just put it that way. The NFL has filed a grievance claiming that the Players Association has advised running backs to exaggerate injuries, including their president, J.C. Treader. Consider feigning or exaggerating injuries. Well, I mean, we knew this going in with Jonathan Taylor. I told you that was going to happen because there was that rift between Taylor and the Colts front office that he was going to come back. He was going to be, my leg, my hammy, whatever. And that's going to be that. It hurts. Like, how do you diagnose pain? It's the same thing that it's no different than, your regular employee claiming to, if you have, like, some businesses have unlimited PTO, which I think is the most preposterous thing I've ever heard. Because at the end of the day, like, you're getting paid to go to work. So go to work and get paid. But maybe I'm a little old school way of thought in today's new realm of, work way less, get paid way more. Doesn't make any sense, but neither here nor there. This idea that in the NBA is going to struggle with it too. They've got their new policy on resting. Like, at the end of the day, they just have to become just like I would. They got to be at will per game employees. You get paid per game. You show up, you get paid. You don't show up, you don't get paid. Just do it like that. Make it plain and simple. Don't guarantee any of the contracts. We're contracting you to play 82 games in the regular season plus playoffs if we make it. And if we make it, we'll have some sort of bonus structure in there to make the playoffs, to keep everybody highly competitive for a few $100,000. And we'll go that direction with it. Bengals say it's hard to say if Joe Burrow, with his calf injury that he re-aggravated against the Ravens, if he's going to be able to go in week 3. They're going to take on the LA Rams on Monday Night Football. It's supposed to be Stafford versus Burrow. If we don't see that, oh boy, that could be rough. Saquon Barkley has an ordinary sprain. It's going to sideline him roughly 3 weeks, according to the early reports there. Rams head coach Sean McVay said that they are looking to shop Cam Akers. They are open for a trade. That's the direction that they are headed. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is feared to have a torn pectoral muscles, so not good at all here with the 37-31 OT loss against the Seahawks. He played 70 defensive snaps, finished with 8 tackles and 2 stuffs. What a good stat that is, stuffs. Not a good situation, however. But we had questions. Who was going to start at safety? Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch. Guess what? We built depth. That's a good thing. You're supposed to be able to survive some things like this. Kelly Oubre Jr. is expected to sign a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. Head coach for the Michigan basketball team, Juwan Howard, had an operation, a heart procedure that's going to sideline him 6 to 12 weeks. Howard had the scheduled operation to resect an aortic aneurysm and repair an aortic valve, conditions identified during a routine medical check earlier this offseason. Had the opportunity to have Jet and Kobe on the sidelines during the Michigan game, and I was going to ask Jet, what advice did your father give you? Because we were talking about being drafted, and when we have celebrities down there, we're doing like in-person interviews. And as I went to do that, I knew that, Coach Howard had a procedure done. And so it just came out like, how's your dad doing? And, I thought Jet's response, he's like, hey, he's doing really well. He really appreciates, everybody's thoughts and prayers and kind words and whatnot. And I thought it was a good moment. I don't know. I haven't really heard anything yet. I was a little concerned, like maybe that's, But, I didn't brief him on it. I didn't even know I was going to ask it. It just came out. It just kind of happened. So we'll see. The SEC has suspended 4 players involved in the Tennessee-Florida fracas on sportsmanlike conduct actions at the end of the 29-16 upset over the number 11 Volunteers. I got to say this. I don't really like the direction the Florida Gators program is going. They've got some guys that talk a little too much without really doing anything of any substance, and that bothers me. We'll step aside. We'll be back with more X's and Bros after this here on the Michigan Sports Network.
In the den.
win. Hey, sports fans, here's a hanging curveball that you can knock out of the ballpark. This is Matt Shepard, the voice of Detroit baseball, inviting you to step up to the plate at Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sports book where you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today. Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
This is the ultimate test for the Tigers. It started last night here at Dodger Stadium, but it continues tonight. LA has already clinched its 10th division title in the last 11 years, has reached the playoffs for an 11 consecutive season, and it possesses two of the best players in baseball in Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. Detroit is trying to get there. In order to do that, they must nurture homegrown talent, elevate them at the right time, and make sure when they get to the big leagues, they are productive to stay there. The Dodgers' 26-man roster is deep and talented. The Tigers is not, so that will be the thing this team addresses most. Not big name, big money players, but steady, versatile ones to help them move the process along.
There are 13 folds that bring the American flag to the iconic shape of freedom. This summer, Folds of Honor and Budweiser celebrate 13 years of changing military and first responder lives together. Service never stops, and neither will we. So join me in raising a Budweiser to raise funds for Folds of Honor.
Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Budweiser Lager Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
What are you looking for in a career? What are you looking for in your pursuit of happiness and satisfaction? Let's answer those questions by answering this one. What are you? If you're selfless, courageous, dedicated, disciplined, and humble, your happiness and satisfaction may be in a new career in law enforcement. Visit MichiganPoliceChiefs.org today or simply walk into your local police department and start the conversation. You may find the answer to all of your questions.
You're listening to Michigan's statewide morning show, X's and Bros, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you ride along with us. Hey, Ben, I got a question for you. Is Freddie still on hold?
Yes, he is.
All right. Good morning, Freddie. How are you, my friend? Freddie.
Yeah, I stayed on hold because I was hoping to hear the juicy news about today at Comerica Park. I thought maybe you'd spill the beans in between the break. I could hear it all, but apparently not.
Oh, hardy har har. You got jokes? You got jokes there? Ha. Hey, did you text us the 2 votes came from Anthony Broom and Joel Klatt? Did you send that?
Of course I did.
Did you send the Tyrone Wheatley as the next Michigan State head coach? Did you send that?
Of course I did. You called it a troll job. I'm like, why?
Goodness. What are you under the bridge right now? You've got good reception.
Why is it a troll? He coached in the NFL. He played in the NFL. He's coached a few spots. Why wouldn't he be a good pick? Would you be worried if he went there? Is that the problem? Or
I just don't think as a graduate of one institution you go to the in-state rival. I just don't think you do that. I think there's certain lines you don't cross.
Greg Madison left to Ohio State.
I'm aware.
Yeah, the center Joe Boren, or whatever his name was, he went to Ohio State. It's happened many times. Bo came from Ohio, went to Michigan.
I'm aware.
Big deal.
It's okay if you come to my school from somewhere else. I don't want you departing from my school to go somewhere else.
Oh. Well, I personally think I think you'd be a great. I think
you're full of bananas and you know it. That's what I think. I think you're full of it today and you know it, and you're smiling ear to ear saying this. That's what I think, Freddie. I think you're trying to poke the bear a little bit.
No, this one I am not. Now, you are really part of the problem, and that's why I really called.
I'm the problem all of a sudden.
I'm getting tired. Listen, first of all, no one cares who your field goal kicker is on your fantasy team. No one cares.
No, I don't. I know. First off, I do not participate in such activities. We do not participate in those activities, so that you don't have to worry about that. We have seminars and portals we have to do, and I'm good. I wanted to make sure that you knew after going under the bridge in the preseason to dig up Jake Moody. I wasn't even concerned about it. I didn't even think about it. But I just want to make sure that you knew where he's at now the regular season has started, just so you knew. Jake Moody, that is, folks. Jake Moody, by the way.
First of all, kudos to him. I'm reviving his career. And second of all, you have thought about it because you couldn't wait to send out that tweet. Please.
I hadn't thought about it until I saw it. I copy and pasted that from Wolverine whatever on Facebook is where I saw it. I probably should have put that in the tweet, but it didn't matter to me because who cares? Anybody could look up that stat. Somebody looked it up for me and handed it to me.
Oh, all right. So
you think I'm gonna dive deep to go back on Jake Moody and see where he's kicking? No.
Oh yeah, please. Are you kidding me? Danny from Brighton probably sent you the information. Oh, you guys are slappy buddies.
The good news is Danny from Brighton and I use Morse code, so it's just like we get the beeps in that comes across the little ticker on the piece of paper. It's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't tell you. I saw Big Dan the other day. What made my day? I was real busy. I got to see Big Dan. It was so nice.
Did he stop in and grab a pizza?
He stopped in. I was so packed when he came in. I couldn't even talk to him. And my buddy Maz was there. He was in the back, so Danny couldn't sit in the back. And I told him to sit with Maz, and he didn't want to sit with him. So I don't know, but it was nice to see him. So I know you like Mike Lombardi, and I was listening to him last night. You know what he said about the Lions game?
Oh boy.
He said to Femi, Femi goes, what do you think about that Lions game? He says, well, you give up 30 points in the second half at home with all that crowd noise and 2 backup tackles. Not good. So I just wanted to pass that along. I know. Now, here's my problem with you. As a big Michigan fan as you are, would you accept all white uniforms and blue wings on the yellow helmets? Would you accept that?
So you want to invert the helmet and make the helmet a maize base with blue wings and go all white uniforms. We have an all white uniform. It looks fine. If they want to invert the wings, I have no problem with that. It doesn't bother me at all.
You know, when I saw you yesterday, you tweeted about the Cleveland Browns.
They look good, don't they? All they needed was the elf. They needed the elf on the side. That would have been awesome.
Can you stop ruining tradition? I mean, Cleveland Browns are one of my favorite uniforms. The Jets are one of my favorite uniforms. I watched these teams in the late 70s, early 80s. That's why I kind of like those teams. I've always liked those teams. I love their uniforms. The Jets, when I watched them the other night, those nice those nice helmets, they were shiny. Love them. You know, even though Zach Wilson, he stinks. You owe me money. You owe me $1,200. The Cleveland Browns need to be orange helmet. I don't care about the white uniforms, but do not give me a white helmet. That was terrible, Anthony. What are we doing here? Are we ruining every tradition that we have on this planet? Are we ruining everything? Seriously? Can we just stick with tradition and be done with it? Like Monday Night Football, 2 games on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that was a sham. That was and the fact that it wasn't split East Coast, West Coast. And if you want to know what the TV executives think about America, take a look at Colorado and USC being announced as the big noon kickoff. It's going to be, they're going to play that game at like 4 a.m. local time, but they don't care because they know the East Coast, the East is the beast. We got all the population. We got all the people that care about sports. They're all out here. We're going to watch the hell out of it. So they're catering to us. Like, that's what it is. And like, you got to put, you have to put a national draw, like maybe Kansas City, on the road against LA and kick that thing off at 9 o'clock Eastern if you want to do a doubleheader. You got to split it. But having 2 games simultaneously in the Eastern time zone, starting, an hour after each other, is stupid.
Yeah, just stupid. Then that game should at least start at 3 o'clock. USC Colorado. Is that this week?
USC Colorado, that was announced. I think it's a couple weeks. I don't think it's this week.
Oh, okay. So my last question to you, and I know you're going to get into it later in the week, but I wanted to kind of start it off with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How concerned are you about Atlanta this week? I'm being honest. I'm not being funny.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the Lions than I am actually Atlanta. And the reason I say that is because, you mentioned this last year, and I never really thought about it until you brought it up. And it was, I don't know, maybe like week 12-ish, somewhere around there. It was like the last quarter of the season, maybe, so it was a little bit later. And you had talked about how we hadn't really had any injuries. And all of a sudden now, like in the first 2 weeks, we are now an injured team. Like we're gonna have guys on IR. Like it's, maybe Dan Campbell said maybe C.J. Gardner-Johnson can come back and play this year. I don't know. That's why we drafted and added some depth at some different positions. And you look at Jahmyr Gibbs now. How valuable is he running the football? That David Montgomery is out. You look at Brian Branch, his stock going way up through the roof. Jack Campbell's going to have to find some more snaps. If they cannot. We assumed, based on what we saw last year, that this defensive line would be able to bring pressure with 4. If you can get pressure with 4, you can change the game. They have not, through 2 games, against 2 mobile quarterbacks, by the way, they have not been able to prove that they can do that. And that is highly concerning for me about this team moving forward. Bijan Robinson can carve. Like that guy, his highlight reel from last week, he's got some juice in those legs. And so, for me, I'm more concerned about this team and, some of the play calls, some of the lack of urgency there in the fourth quarter. 8 minutes on the clock, you get the ball, should have been a 4-minute offense. You get the ball back with just under 2 minutes, under the 2-minute warning, you're at the 50, you got to go score. I don't think you could settle for a field goal there. I don't give a damn if you do it too fast. Go score, get a stop. Like, man, that was a really winnable game against a good team. And a previous year playoff, and I talk about all the time, the playoff shifts all the time, year to year, but that is that's one that 2-0 would have felt a lot better than 1-1, because 1-1 makes me feel a little concerned, and losing a home game does as well.
Yeah, my concern is I always felt like next year really was the year, even though I have high hopes for them this year. But
Freddie, the problem is I talked way too long, and we got to hit the break. We'll be right back with more X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Friday, October 27th, TVs and Practical Jokers are up to their usual tricks.
If you're not here, you are missing out.
It's the Tenderloins at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Sal, James, and Brian for 2 shows and twice the laughs. 7 and 10 p.m. Tickets start at $59. On sale now at the box office and etix.com. Don't miss the Drive Tour with the Tenderloins, October 27th. Party hard, laugh louder. Details at SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Fuel up for less with M-Perks. Earn points on your purchases when you shop at Meijer in-store and online. Then use your points to claim a fuel reward and save at the pump. Your dollar goes further at the pump with M-Perks. Plus, earn points for all qualifying purchases in the Meijer Express station. And keep a lookout for exclusive Meijer Express offers. Enter your M-Perks ID at checkout to earn. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Wisconsin. Max 30 gallons. Download the Meijer app to sign up or see Meijer.com to learn more.
Miss any of today's show? Find our podcast and listen on demand on Google, Apple, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, back to X's and Bros with Anthony Bellino, here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Welcome back here to X's and Bros, Michigan Sports Network. Great to have you ride along with us, no matter who you are, where you are, how you may be listening. We appreciate you making us a part of your day each and every weekday morning all across the great state of Michigan. That's Ben Glaze and Ryan Elke. I'm Anthony Bellino. Join us on the horn right now, covering the Detroit Lions. All Lions coverage on Sports Illustrated. Our good friend, John Maakaron. Find him on Twitter, Detroit Podcast. Johnny, what's going on, my man? Breakfast buffet this week. It was good. You know, the eggs with a little bit of ham, a little French toast stick, and a little fresh fruit. I enjoyed it. And a little hash brown, too.
Yeah, man, it was good. Look, I don't want to critique free food, but hash browns weren't cutting it, man. You know, McDonald's does it best with the crispy hash browns. You go to a place like, Tim Hortons, they give you the kind of crunchy, hard food there. It's the hash browns weren't up to par, in my opinion. But
were they a little soft for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. Look, I sent the email. I said, look, food review here, guys. Breakfast, love it. Hash browns could have been a little crispier.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but see, this is the inside knowledge, John, that people need to know. They need to know what's going on up there. Sorry that I missed you on Sunday. Let's get right into it. I got to ask you, Decker, Big V, Montgomery, James Houston, now the news with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Which injury is most concerning to you?
Yeah, man, it's just tough, especially with the first win getting everybody excited. Everybody was really thrilled about the potential of the Lions. Now the injury bug has plagued the Detroit Lions, and you look at it, and I think on both fronts, you get hit on both sides. I think the Decker injury really did have impact late in the game against the Seahawks when you got Nelson there on the right side. Jared Goff felt a little bit more pressure once Big V kind of went down as well. And then what happens? One of the first turnovers that he's had, pick six in quite a bit of time. And now you realize two key defenders going to miss a significant amount of time. I'm really gutted for the defense, man. They got it rough. They just came off of a really tough performance, and now you lose James Houston, who only played 11 snaps. But I just think that the potential was there for him to be a factor in the pass rush, which has been struggling. And now one of your emotional leaders in C.J. Gardner-Johnson reportedly has a torn pectoral muscle. He's going to miss a significant amount of time. Maybe a small chance he comes back, but for the foreseeable future, your defense has been impacted. So you've been impacted on both sides of the football, and it's going to make things real challenging moving forward. They do have more depth, but you're going into a couple key games here without your full allotment of talent.
And it's concerning and troubling on multiple fronts. And with James Houston, you mentioned the snap count there. I did not understand how he ended up aligned with Noah Fant, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like, our coverage, for me, whether they were soft zones or James Houston, who is a pass rush specialist, like he is what he is. That's what he's really good at. Like, why not keep him in that sort of role? Why are we trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, that type of deal? Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. And Detroit got burnt there. Like, they defensively, we've got some questions that, we have to answer.
Yeah, schematically, there is a lot of talk now. Aaron Glenn taking a lot of heat for the manner in which this team played. You look at your cornerbacks in Cam Sutton and Jerry Jacobs, kind of known a little bit more for press man coverage, a little bit playing physical, getting guys off their route. To have the defensive backs and linebackers dropping back just gave really the advantage, I thought, to Seattle, who came in with a masterful game plan. You got to credit Seattle, too, as well. You always say, look, the other guys get paid, too. They came in with a game plan to get their guys involved, and right away with that opening 8-minute drive really took it to the Lions. And I just think defensively, the Lions played a little bit scared, not as willing to get it into the mix, trying to disrupt everything that was going on with the Seahawks offense. And it just was really baffling, like you said, to see, James Houston, dropping back in coverage. The tight ends for the Seahawks were able to get open at will. There's no answer. And I think what really had a lot of people upset, Anthony, is the fact that it didn't seem like there was really any solid adjustments that were made at halftime to try and limit what was going on with the Seahawks. And I mean, look, Geno Smith is a savvy veteran quarterback. and obviously has found success playing the Lions. But you had to find any avenue to disrupt what he was trying to accomplish. And for the lack of a pass rush, to play back, to not be able to inflict your will, I just think that's the recipe that's really the recipe for a losing game. When you're a defense that's looking to set the tone, I just thought that game plan maybe wasn't the most ideal matching up against the Seahawks.
And you mentioned the Goff pick six there from Trey Brown, who took it to the house. What did you see on that play? Was his arm touched? Was the ball tipped? Like, what in the hell? I'm trying to watch that back, and I can't figure out because the ball, did it slip out of his hand? Like, it just didn't look like that's a professional pass.
Yeah, no, look, he did feel a little bit of pressure. It does appear that there was a little bit of an impact on the toss. Look, it's just really unfortunate because you can't spot the opponent at 6 points, and that's kind of been what has made the offense really click, is that they've been able to protect the football, limit the mistakes, and look, pressure, that's why everybody's clamoring for the Detroit Lions defensive line to force pressure. That's how you get those turnovers that impact games. And for Jared Goff, look, I don't think he's the reason that the Lions lost. I think that he's definitely leading the offense and is progressing. Look, even without your top really wide receiver that takes the top off the defense, the offense was pretty efficient with David Montgomery. It's just one of those situations with Nelson on the right side, and just that little bit of extra pressure forced the timing to be off. And it's so intricate in these offensive schemes and these play calls that you got to be where you need to be, exactly where you need to be at a certain time. And just one little impact, a little bit of pressure can throw off the timing. And you saw the interception. Look, Jared Goff, I think, stood up there and like a leader took accountability for it. But it really, when you look at the blame, you probably would look at the route and how it ended up shaking out with the pressure that ended up causing the turnover.
What's crazy is, you take a look at Pittsburgh, right? They generated -7 yards of offense in last night's game, down 3 in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, -7 yards, and won a game by 4, right? And then you take a look statistically matching up. Jared Goff had more net yards passing than Geno Smith. The completions, Jared missed 7 passes all day. Geno missed 9. He had 3 touchdowns. Geno had 2. You look at running the football. David Montgomery, 16 carries, 67 yards. That's 4.2 yards a carry and a touchdown. Kenneth Walker, 17 carries, 43 yards. That's 2.5 yards per carry. Amongst all receivers in the football game, Detroit had 3 out of the 4 highest gainers in yards in that game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and tight end Sam Laporta. Like, you look at it, and it's like you have the pick 6, and then you fumble on the very first play of the second half when you're receiving. That, to me, for as much as we can nitpick and ridicule and get after, well, the defense didn't do this, that, and the third, we had the game. Like, the game was there, and I think maybe that's what's most frustrating is Seattle's a quality opponent. We all know down their 2 starting tackles, we should have been able to apply more pressure, but it's a team that was in the playoffs a year ago. They're a good club. They got great weapons on the outside in Lockett and Metcalf. We had that game at home and lost it in that 1-1. Now you start to tack on the injuries. It just makes me feel, I don't know. My concern level's through the roof right now. And I know it's only Tuesday, but I'm highly concerned.
Yeah, and I think people are very concerned. Real quick pivot here. My fantasy team got back to 1-1 because of the Steelers defense. My goodness, the numbers that they put up.
TJ Watt, baby.
Yes, baby. They did it all. Scoring touchdowns, doing their thing. That's kind of what I wanted to see from the Lions defense in the home opener. I look at it and I say it's a performance that I think, too, now people are starting to question Dan Campbell's aggressiveness and looking at, really, when you look at the game situation, you have the ball with your offense and you have a head coach that maybe his inconsistency with his aggressiveness is starting to kind of rub people the wrong way. And you look at it, and I say it's warranted, at least in this situation. You have a situation in which you're down in the fourth quarter, your offense comes back, you handle business, and you get the ball back with just a little bit under 2 minutes left, I believe, and you don't really push the pedal to the metal. You try to play it safe at home. I think a lot of people are looking at it and saying, look, if you're going to, force the Seahawks to go down the field, might as well have them do it with 35 seconds left as opposed to their full 2 timeouts and having 10 minutes of overtime. And look what ended up bearing out in that they were able to win the coin toss and take the 50-50 proposition and march right down the field and score the touchdown to win the game. I think that if you really look back at it, I just think that Dan Campbell, look, people understand this is his mindset. This is what he's going to do, willing to pull the trigger on 4th down. But at the same time, when your team has an opportunity to go for a touchdown, you might as well take advantage of it with the offense that you have. You might have been more willing to be aggressive and not let the clock run out to play for overtime.
And, you know, I'm right there with you. Like, it's just like technology. You love it when it works. You hate it when it doesn't, right? The internet is a powerful tool. Going for it on fourth down when you get it, it's great. The internet shuts off. Now all of a sudden you hate everything that's ever had a power button, right? But you're 4th and 2 at your own 45 in the second half. You have a 4-point lead. You have Jack Fox. Like, just pin them and make them. Don't give them the short field, right? And it's, you look at that, if you're that aggressive on your own 45, you get the foot. I didn't think in the 8-minute offense, I didn't think like when we got the ball back with 8 minutes, I thought we should have been in a 4-minute offense. Let's go. Let's show some urgency. We got to put some points on the board, and we need to do it in a hurry. You go for it on your own 45, and as you mentioned, when they get the ball back with 1:40, whatever it was, in the fourth quarter, at the 50-yard line, dude, you got to go score. And you got to hurry up. Like Josh Reynolds catches that pass, and he's sitting there, the ball's between his legs just kind of spread out, and the clock is moving, and I'm like, okay, like I kind of get what they're doing here. Are they going to try to force Seattle's hand to call a timeout right now? Seattle doesn't burn the timeout, and it's like now we've blown, 20 seconds, maybe even more since the next play. Like it just, for me, that entire sequence of events was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I always go with the mantra when these coaches get conservative. I never trust the defense. So when you look at it, the game is built for the offense. It's just the way it is, and especially with the way that game was called. I look at it and I say, Dan Campbell has an opportunity. You got to play to your strengths. Your strength is the offense. So even if you score quickly, give yourself the best opportunity to win. I know there's always that fine, delicate balance of scoring and running the clock out. But in this situation, look, I just think that if you would have called on your defense and maybe you might have even gotten a little bit more pressure at that critical moment at that spot. So I just look at it and I say, if Dan Campbell's going to be aggressive, commit to being aggressive the whole game. And, utilize Jack Fox. I do understand the idea of going for it on fourth down, especially with that offense that you have. So I don't really, obviously you don't want to do it on your own side of the football, which he's always, now starting to show a proclivity to do. But I look at it and I say, if you're going to be aggressive, go for it, go for the win. And I think you put your team in a real tough spot. And then at the other token, too, when you look at it, I don't blame the officials for this contest. I just think that it was an official crew that we understood was going to throw a lot of flags. And you have to find ways to overcome. The defensive line didn't do enough to disrupt things, and I just think that the amount of mistakes that were made really made it difficult to get the W in the opener.
For our listeners that just heard John say this and had no idea what he was talking about, because I just went to the Google and fired it up, a tendency to choose or do something regularly, an inclination or predisposition towards a particular thing. That is the definition of a proclivity. So thank you very much for that, John. I will now try to use that in a sentence 3 times today to see if that works out, and I can add that to my repertoire. So thank you for teaching us here on this beautiful Tuesday morning. When you look at the way that this team struggled to defend, what do you think needs to be the change? Like Isaiah Buggs, I don't know what's going on there, but at this point, you got to get him back on the line, right? You got to get him back in the game to see if he can make a change.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you have me on for the 10-point words. Look, I think Dan Campbell, when he spoke to the media, said he needs his reliable players to be reliable. And I think that was an indication, and probably talking to C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Aiden Hutchinson and a lot of members of the defense. Look, despite, his potential, Aiden Hutchinson has to impact the game a little bit more. Even if he's being chipped, even if he's being held, he's got to be able to find avenues. And I know he needs help. It's not a one-man defensive line, but he's got to impact the game a little bit more. And I look at the defense, and it is back to the drawing board. You got to really look at the physicality. You got to look at your key players. I mean, your 4 worst-graded PFF players on defense are all on the defensive line. You got to look at Aleem McNeil, John Kaminsky. You got to find avenues of the players that you have on this roster to win your one-on-one battles. And the opportunities are there, but if you don't win your battles, then it's going to make it for a real long day. And you got Bijan Robinson coming in. You got a young quarterback. This is the game where now people are going to look and say, okay, Aaron Glenn, can you make the adjustment? Can you regroup? Because it's one thing for a veteran who's done it before in Geno Smith. If Desmond Ridder is not there, then you got to be – if Desmond Ridder starts to have success and is able to pick apart your defense, the eyes of the supporters are going to be firmly on Aaron Glenn. And I think it's true. When you turn on the film, you turn on the All-22, you sit there and you watch kind of what's going on, the Detroit Lions defensive line is not that exotic. Not a lot of stunts, not a lot of things that are mixed up. It's basically win your battle and get to the quarterback. I think the defensive line could do a little bit more in terms of shaking it up and trying to force confusion, maybe a little bit more blitz from different positions. You look at it and you say everything could be improved with that defense. And it starts with the scheme. It starts with the defensive line up front being a little bit more willing to try new things and try and surprise these offenses that are just so in sync and tailored to have success.
That's what I want to see. I want to see the blitz come from the nickel. I want to see the twists and the stunts along the defensive line. I want to see linebackers running after the football. Like, if we're going to get beat like over the top in the pass game anyways, you might as well send somebody to smack a quarterback, right? That's just kind of my theory about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go down, be aggressive. The approach of playing back and giving cushion for these receivers, it's just it's a recipe for disaster. And it happened against the Seahawks. It can't happen. And look, for this game, I'm very excited because it is shaking out potentially with the thigh bruise of David Montgomery. The eyes of the NFL world can look. It's Bijan Robinson, who I clamored for the day of the draft, had a bold prediction at All Lions saying that the Lions could take a running back at number 6, and it should be Bijan Robinson, a bell cow running back. Look, I'm not going to complain about Jahmyr Gibbs, but early on, you're seeing the return of what Robinson's doing for the Falcons, looking real solid, and Gibbs is kind of being eased into the process. If Gibbs now is more of a primary target, we're going to have an opportunity to see why the Lions decided to choose this Alabama product out of the SEC, because you're going to see Bijan Robinson get a lot of touches and be a factor for the Falcons in their offense.
I was on the Bijan train too, my friend. I was on the Bijan train too. Like, there, you can go back and look at the draft. I'm like, hey, look, we could absolutely, like, this guy could be your, he, like you said, bell cow, could be a franchise kind of running back. His name, John Maakaron. You can find him on Twitter if you're not following him already. You need to, at Detroit Podcast. All Lions coverage on Sports Illustrated. John, my friend, is always partner. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for waking up with us today.
Eating good, living good, reading good, having great interviews. Always enjoy the time, AB. Let's get after it, and let's try to get on the positive side of the win column here.
And my friend, I'll see you for breakfast on Sunday morning.
Yes, sir.
There he goes, John Maakaron. Football's back in full swing. Another week of epic games on the slate. Who's got you covered for the action for each and every one of them? Well, DraftKings Sportsbook does, of course, an official sports betting partner of the National Football League. New customers can bet $5 on football, get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. Get in on the NFL Week 3 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app right now. Use the promo code HUGE, promo code HUGE. New customers bet just $5. Take home $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Only using the promo code HUGE. The crown is yours. If you or somebody who has a gambling problem, wants help, needs help, call the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Gambling Disorder Helpline at 800-270-7117. 21 plus, Michigan only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. A lot of text messages that came in. Got to get to this one real quick. Anthony, you have it all wrong about Colorado USC game. Pac-12 has been trying to get noon games Eastern for more East Coast exposure. They don't want to compete with the 3:30 SEC slot when all their games are late for it. You're asking the kids to kick the ball off at 9 a.m. I can't agree with that. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for my good friend Matt Golden. Now, he's the CEO and GM at the Tullymore Golf Resort. They're in Canadian Lakes, Michigan, less than an hour north of Grand Rapids. And fall golf is here, and they have some huge deals you can take advantage of on stay-and-play packages, tee times, and more. Just go to tullymoregolf.com. That is tullymore.golf.com. Also, if you want to book a Christmas party for the holidays, you want to squeeze in a business meeting with some golf and great food and beverages, Matt Golden and his team can take care of you right now. Go to tullymoregolf.com. That's tullymoregolf.com. They're also booking big groups who want stay-and-play packages, or maybe you just want to look ahead to the perfect weekend in 2024. Remember, Tullymore is less than an hour north of GR in Canadian Lakes, Michigan. Book your stay-and-play package or get more info now at tullymoregolf.com.
Imagine this, winning big at Soaring Eagle. Go bowling for bucks to win premium play prizes that are right up your alley. Drawings are every Friday in September from 7 to 11 p.m. And one lucky winner every hour strikes up to $3,000 premium play. Roll the ball and hit your lucky strike with Bowling for Bucks. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Fuel up for less with M-Perks. Earn points on your purchases when you shop at Meijer in-store and online. Then use your points to claim a fuel reward and save at the pump. Your dollar goes further at the pump with M-Perks. Plus, earn points for all qualifying purchases in the Meijer Express station. And keep a lookout for exclusive Meijer Express offers. Enter your M-Perks ID at checkout to earn. Exclusions apply. Not valid in Wisconsin. Max 30 gallons. Download the Meijer app to sign up or see Meijer.com to learn more.
Merck Perks from Mercantile Bank is here. Merck Perks checking has all you need to plan your busy lifestyle. Travel services for hotels, airfare, and cruises, cash back rewards, and even savings on prescriptions, eyewear, and dental work. Merck Perks also includes all the traditional benefits you love, like online and mobile banking, and fee-free access to almost 40,000 MoneyPass ATMs. So when you're ready for perks, Merck is here. Learn more at mymerckperks.com, member FDIC.
Join Van Andel Institute Purple Community for the Be Brave 5K Walk and Run in Caledonia on October 7th at 8 a.m. You can participate in a day of fun and exercise, all while supporting breast cancer research at Van Andel Institute. Register at vai.org. Coming up later today at 3, huge opinions on everything I want to talk about. It's the Huge Show at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.